Hey everybody, this is Perch. I mentioned in their video, and I think I posted about this on one of my rare Twitter tweets at some point, that, my kids, 8 and 11, uh, thoroughly enjoyed Miss Marvel. So we got to see the first 3 episodes early on Disney+. So they've gone through, what's half the series? I think it's 6 episodes only. But they really enjoyed the series. And I want to preface this by saying my kids have typically not liked Miss Marvel. They haven't seen a lot of Miss Marvel, but they have seen some of the comics, and the characters never interested them. Even the original series, because I did dig up the very, when the series first started, G. Willow Wilson, and I thought the first volume of the series, first 20 issues or so, were decent. Again, not completely my thing, but to me it felt a lot like, 2014. I guess you saw around there. It felt like Spider-Man from the '60s, but modern. It had a lot of that same kind of style to it, and I thought the kids might like it. They didn't typically care; they just didn't care for it. The art, something about the art didn't work for them as kids; it just didn't. But they really liked the show. Now, I should point out my kids are very big into manga. I think my older daughter likes Promised Neverland, really likes Demon Slayer. Getting into Seven Deadly Sins, likes that one. My younger daughter, huge My Hero Academia. They both like One Piece, but I think my younger daughter is starting to like One Piece more. But my younger daughter really likes My Hero Academia. We all sat down, and both of them enjoyed Miss Marvel. My older daughter was like, I asked her, scale of 1 to 10. She said 7. And my younger daughter, 10. My younger daughter thoroughly enjoyed it, and then went back and watched them again. And what do you make of all these pieces? Marvel for a while has been saying, hey, these comics, they're not for you. Things like Squirrel Girl, Miss Marvel, the Uncancelable Wasps, stuff like that. Oh man, I don't want to go on a side tangent here, but Jeremy Whitley posted what has to be the most batshit insane thread about kind of his sexuality. It was bizarre. It was absolutely bizarre, and it doesn't. There's rumors about him that come up in cons, and this thread absolutely did not help any of those. But anyway, regardless of all that, because that's just icky stuff. Marvel says this, yay, we're doing this comic for this new audience, but the new audience never really shows up. It doesn't come in any kind of masses, and it just doesn't connect. And, in many ways, manga and anime has taken this new audience that Marvel covets, that they want. But it's gone in the direction of manga. Why is that? And some people speculate, but it always turns into a fight. I mean, the problem is people try to really work through that on on Facebook or on Twitter. It devolves very quickly into the culture war battle, and it's stupid, and it doesn't actually take a look at what is it about these series is capturing these new audiences that works. And no, it's not. Hey, they've got it's not as simple as they've got action, although that helps. It's not. It's definitely not as simple as, hey, they don't have any of that woke stuff, because several of them do have what would be easily classified as woke if it came out from Marvel or DC. But there is a very distinct difference. And I think the Miss Marvel TV show winds up being a whole lot more like manga anime in terms of this specific difference than the comics do. And I think it's one of those things for Western comic audiences to take note. What do my kids like about Miss Marvel? It followed a formula that, particularly for my younger daughter, she loved. The main character, if I have to break it down, because there's a lot of little elements to it, and I should say at the offset, it wasn't, I would say it's not for me. It wasn't terrible. I mean, I recognized what skill Miss Marvel was using. It's not a show I would particularly love, but I definitely, admit, and it's not even a forceful admit, that the genre or the tropes that they were steering into, they did well. They did correctly. And that's why it pulled in my daughters and seemingly is pulling in other kids as well. It's quite simple. The main character, Kamala Khan, is in the show is basically she's not the popular kid in class. She's nerdy. She loves superheroes. She's kind of that geek culture girl, if you will. But she doesn't spend time going, I'm a geek girl. Girls can play games too. They don't go into any of that. The character is purely focused as, I like superheroes. They're so cool. I want to be a superhero someday. There's a wide-eyed excitement about her that is charming. The character, the actress has charisma, and she plays that character as not, again, not with a chip on her shoulder. There's nothing about the character. It's like, you need to like me because girls are here, girl power. It's not a man's world anymore. There's none of that kind of stuff. I deeply hope Marvel doesn't steer into that, but I fear like at some point we are going to get the Young Avengers, and it's going to have America Chavez, and it's going to have the new Hawkeye and Miss Marvel. And I feel like Kate Bishop. I was going to say Kate Barton. No, it's not Kate Barton, of course. Kate Bishop. Anyway, the three. And I feel like you're going to get marketing. It's like, it's a girl's world now. Boys not allowed. You're going to get that shit. And it's not going to connect with the characters. Again, watch Miss Marvel #1. There is no, stupid boys, girls are strong. There's none of that. What you do get is girls, the girl in this case, Kamala Khan, is confident in herself, sort of. She's a kid, so she's got the same insecurities as kids do, but she loves superheroes, and she can't help herself. She loves them. And she's got a very creative mind, and she's geeky, and she puts together kind of these craft creative projects based on her absolute love of heroes. And even when people kind of mock her or dismiss it, like her parents, she's trying to be a good daughter, but at the same time, her parents are like, you need to put away this kid stuff. And when the parents do a super cringy, dumb, Hulk thing, it doesn't take away for her love for superheroes and everything about them. And that's it. Basically, if you look at the best comparison to that in comics, Western comics or manga or whatever else, it's Deku from My Hero Academia. For all intents and purposes, she's written the same. Both have hero worship. Both really would love to be in that position someday. Both have dreams. Both believe there's no way they could possibly do it. Both are not outcasts at their school, but kind of close to it. They're both kind of on the fringe, and yet none of that has diminished their optimism. And so as my daughter's watching this, I could see her smiling as the main character is smiling because it's infectious. You want to have that same kind of heroic optimism. And in that way, Miss Marvel felt a lot like 80s comics, where the heroes wanted to be heroes, where there was not deep depression and PTSD and all the other deconstruction that we've seen over the last 20 years. Instead, it was like, this character wants to be a hero. It's the feeling I had. By the way, my daughters loved it too. For, books like Erratic, for books like Primer. It had that same feel to it. Miss Marvel was a lot like Primer in that sense. It's the character it felt like it was written for kids. It felt like it was written for this new audience because the character wanted to be there. And also and then you can get into all the complexity. If I'm looking at other aspects of the show, when the character gets her powers, it isn't through some bizarre well, you see, your ancestor was a Kree, and then we injected your blood into here, and then we put you in the military, brainwashed you using the supreme intelligence that looks like it was none of that kind of really convoluted origin story. It was, she's looking through, junk in the attic. She comes across a little kind of wristband amulet. She puts it on. It gives her powers. This is very attractive for kids because they view, they can't wrap their heads around, some kind of Kree biological spliced hybrid memory loss soldier. That stuff doesn't impact them as much as, hey, I could find some mysterious artifact, and wouldn't it be cool if it gave me powers? And I didn't really know how to control them, and so it was kind of weird at first, but then eventually, I got this together. The show was based on this entire dynamic of, trying to figure out how she gets along with her parents and her world. She doesn't belong to that world. She's trying to be a good daughter, but at the same time, her heart is elsewhere. She's optimistic and wants to be a hero. She has conflict with some people at school in the sense that she's not one of the popular kids. And it's just, you go down the line, including, she rallies to try and go to this cosplay contest for, where she's dressing up like Captain Marvel doesn't get it quite right. She's got this good friend of hers that built some kind of tech gadget to make her cool, but she forgets it in the bathroom and she feels ashamed. And it's just all these elements are that you could, as a kid, you can relate. You can relate to all these things, minus, of course, getting the superpowers, but that's what kids fantasize about. This idea that they could do, this could happen to them, this amazing, magical thing. And as a result, it works. And so as you watch this show, it doesn't feel like a depressing grind. It doesn't feel like character misery. Instead, it feels like, hey, here's the origin story of a girl who would like to be a hero, and there's no way she can be a hero, but then mysterious fate comes her way and she gets these powers and doesn't know how to control them, and then misadventures happen and she's trying to hide it from her parents, but she's not sure what to do, and she doesn't want to be a rebel, but she also has to follow her heart. And it's these moments of like, I'm a superhero, and she smiles and her eyes are wide and bright, and that works. It's not going to work for everyone. If you're a fan of Frank Miller, if you're a fan of Mike Millar, if you're a fan of some of these superheroes, if you've been reading comics for a long time, this stuff probably feels very entry level, very cheesy. But the package itself works. And if you can get over the fact that it's Miss Marvel, and you've heard 101 videos talk about Muslims and the woke, injection of all this kind of crap, if you can get over that for a second and you can kind of close your eyes, what you will notice is that this show has the same kind of plot and storyline of a lot of comics in the 70s and the 80s, the comics that probably got a lot of you into reading them. Now, again, you may not like this one. You may not like the character. You may not like some of the cringy aspects. Make no doubt about it, there's definitely cringy aspects. It feels like a Disney, teen Disney show in a lot of ways. But the core principle of kid would like to be a superhero, somewhat of an outcast, comes upon a mysterious artifact, becomes the superhero, doesn't know how to control it, has to have these adventures. I mean, it's easy to understand why it works. If you compare it to something like Moon Knight, for example, it's easy to understand why this show is charming. People want to get into it, and why Moon Knight, my kids wouldn't have anything to do with it. I tried to show my kids Kenobi, and they're like, yeah, well, we like the fact that, is that Princess Leia and she's a little girl? That's kind of funny. We like the little girl, but at the same time, the little girl is obnoxious, is acting like she's, in her 20s, even though she's young, and had that whole thing going on. And what's Ben's motivation? Don't quite get that. And they're like, I don't know. It just, they didn't hate Kenobi. They're like, I mean, I don't really know what's going on here. But Miss Marvel, instant. And if you're talking about appealing to the new audiences, the new characters working, Miss Marvel does a good job. It fits. And as a result, it works. Anyway, I'm not saying run out and buy it. You probably, chances are, if you're listening to this channel, you probably won't like it. But I think you will at least like or appreciate the story structure and the way it's laid out, because it's laid out like a lot of us want comics to be laid out, particularly new ones for new people. Anyway, there you go. My little thought on that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you do watch it, I'd love to hear from people who, don't like it. But like I said, it's like, this isn't for me, but I get why they're doing what they're doing. And yeah, this is going to appeal to kids. And this is why, if you're going to do new comics in this way, this is the way to do it, because it fits. I think I'd love to hear from some of you who can kind of see that difference. Because to me, if you look for it, it's completely clear. Anyway, thanks for listening.